because this is no longer just like a anti-trans Republican thing. Like, no, it's like, hey, it always was. It always was about the children. All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lech, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Let's party. So this is a sad one, guys. I'm telling you, this is a heavy one, especially if you have young kids, especially if you have daughters. This one may not be for you, and that is totally okay. But there's something that I saw on TikTok a while back, and it was super disturbing. And it's something that, you understand it's happening, but to see it is just really disheartening. And I'm so glad that our good friend Brett Cooper is here to cover it, because she gathered a bunch of good stuff for us. So let's take a look at what it is. And again, if you are sensitive to stuff with kids, this one may not be for you. It is totally fine. I will see you on the next one.
I just want to put it out there right away. We are dealing with a heavier subject today. We're going to be talking about pedophilia, some important stuff. So just know if you have kids around, or if you are a young person, if you don't want to watch that, totally fine. Just letting you know right from the get-go. Now, I have talked about pedophilia and grooming before quite often because it is very prevalent in our current society. I've also talked about how our culture is increasingly promoting and normalizing the sexualization of children, whether that be, teachers showing middle schoolers how to put in butt plugs and use dildos and use lube, or whether it's California changing their laws so that not every adult that has sex with a child has to be on the sex offender list, all of that. But this is something that impacts every single one of us. This hits closer to home, like literally.
Everyone.
This is what is happening on social media. So I saw this viral video yesterday and it made me want to create this episode. So let's just start there because I watched it with no context. So I'm just going to introduce you to this man and to this story.
I accidentally found a child corn ring and have not been okay since. I've not wanted to make this post, but I need to make this post to let you all know what's going on.
So just, to bring a little bit of levity to all of this, I see this and I'm like, okay, what is this gay guy going to be complaining about? Some trans, this, that, and it did not go in that direction.
Recently, I started doing a series where I show the faces and names and what grown men are saying on children's posts across the internet. And I was tagged on a little girl's post who was 9 years old and lives in Ukraine.
9 years old.
I went into the comment section to see what I knew I would unfortunately find, and it led me to a link, and that link led me to a site that specifically stated 5 to 17-year-olds. I was not prepared for what I found, and it was heartbreaking, and it messed me up pretty badly. I was able to do what I needed to be baseline okay the night I found this, and then the next morning had a complete breakdown.
And I don't blame him. I don't blame him. When you see the magnitude of what is going on Instagram and these other platforms.
I spoke to the proper authorities and reported all the names and usernames and comments that I had found, along with the different links, because it was more than one. Since I started doing this series last year, I have been inundated with thousands of people sharing their traumatic stories with me. While I am incredibly grateful for the trust that many of you feel with me, this has been incredibly hard to sit and look at and process.
You can hear it in his voice.
And my sunshine has not been as bright recently.
Yeah, and I mean, that's, my sunshine, whatever. But I genuinely, I don't blame him at all for not wanting to do this anymore. And I know we're burying the lead a little bit, but I'm telling you, it's just that
incredible amount of pressure to keep going and keep doing this. And I want to, and I will. But I need a break. I need a break from all of the trauma, especially as I sit in my own, as the ASA has come out. There are many things behind the scenes offline that I don't share with all of you for my own protection and for many of yours. And I just want to say thank you for being in this love army. Thank you for trusting me with your stories. Thank you for wanting to be a part of this global shift that we need, that has been long overdue. But right now I need to take a little bit of a break and shift to a little bit lighter content.
All right. So, I just want to get you guys an idea of where we're coming from. I don't want to steal Brett's whole video. So let's just fast forward to the stuff. All right, guys, here we go.
From him.
So it says all of these men are actively looking for young boy and girl prawn and getting it from a site that specifies ages 5 to 17.
So this is in the similar format that he does his other videos, where he goes through, he finds
Says the girl is 9 in the post, and all that led me to all of this. And so we got a comment that says, "OMG, so gorgeous, so pretty, so beautiful. I really like you so much, baby."
a child's post, and then he screenshots a disgusting creepo
And then we get, "Hi, how are you, friend?"
man's comment, flashes his name and his photo for everybody to see. So it's this.
Fire emoji.
However, it's a porn site.
This one says, "Growing up nicely," on a 9-year-old, and this guy must be 60. So cute. 30-year-old.
So these are all of the men
hands.
who
40
led
people
him
liked
to this
the
site.
comment. All of these people. This guy's a father. It says this thread led me to the darkest CP and is them all asking for it. Asking for it. Specifically going on a page. I don't know if this is actually Instagram or if this is the 5 to 7-year-old site that he was talking about. But they are asking for it, knowing that they can get it. They're just out in the open.
Absolutely not.
He's father to a boy and girl. We spent all morning and it's just comment after comment after comment after comment. Doesn't leave much to the imagination. A Muslim dude.
It's disgusting. And I'm grateful he did not show the site or anything like that. So basically, like I said, he was doing his normal thing, going through, looking at all these comments. And these are the men who led him to this site where child pornography was. And obviously, I'm sure that is not the only site. There's so much, again, dark, disgusting crap on the internet. I mean, you look at those pictures of those men, and some of them seemed totally normal. Like guys you would bump into at a coffee shop or no. And this
Exactly. You have no idea who is doing this stuff. And that is why it is so important not only to focus on stuff like this, but when it comes to the more ancillary stuff where it's like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know, having drag queen story hour, who is that really for? Who is that really for?
This man is awesome for what he does. Like, this is far from his first video. Like I said, this is a whole series. He exposes these predators, and this is probably his biggest expose yet because it's not just individual people, it is an entire site. And the comments were heartbreaking. Like one girl, Nikki, said, "No one spoke up for me. Please keep speaking." I think those are the comments he was talking about because there were so many women saying, like, "This happened to me. Please keep going. Like, we need to change people's perspective about this. We need to spread awareness." And obviously, I'm sure that gets really overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the first video that Brett showed of, I think they're both named Brett, but the first video that she showed of him saying that he needed to take a step back is that creates a lot of pressure. And so when he sees one message of someone saying, "Hey, this happened to me and nobody spoke up for me. Please keep going." Well, now that you feel the pressure that you do have to keep going. Despite your mental health, you haven't been SA'd as a child. And that must be so heavy. I have a degree in psychology, and there is a reason that I am not a psychologist. There is a reason I'm a dog trainer. It is heavy. And I wasn't dealing with any of this kind of stuff. I was just in substance abuse. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that's dark too. But not as dark as this.
Another woman said, "Every day I realize that I live in a bubble and it gets popped by TikTok. I don't know this world."
Yep.
I also see a lot of this in my comments, and in a way it makes me feel guilty, and maybe it shouldn't, but I'll see people go, like, "I didn't know this," like, "Oh, it feels so awful." And, I don't want to be that person that's like shining a light on all the worst things in the world. And I try to have lighthearted stuff. That's why I do Off the Clock. That's why I try to, laugh about things, and we insert memes and that sort of thing. But
I'm right there with her because, we call this a party. I say, let's party. And then we're talking about this. And I get that that's not exactly in the same theme. But the point is we need to know that this is going on. Otherwise, it's just going to keep happening. It's just going to keep happening.
Like, there is a lot of terrible, terrible stuff in the world. And if you are living with like blinders over your eyes, Like, I don't think that that is the best way to live. It might be more comfortable. It might be easier, but you're vulnerable. You should not feel vulnerable in this world. You need to be empowered and know about these things.
Yeah. And this ties in to all of the other dogmatic things that I talk about that can be a safety blanket, but just because something feels good doesn't mean that it is good.
So that you can try to stop it, so that you can protect your children, so you can protect yourself. Knowledge is empowerment. It's allowing you to be self-reliant. And so I hope that it's beneficial, and it looks like it is, especially with this man's comments. And so I don't know. It's just that comment spoke out to me because I was like, I see this in my comment section too. And one thing that I think is important about, him and the work that he does is that he's not like some political guy. He's not a right winger. He's gay. And, he is diligently going after these disgusting predators. And like,
I think that's an important part too, because this is no longer just like a anti-trans Republican thing. Like, no, it's like, hey, it always was about the children, but it was so very easily spun because it was only people who weren't woke talking about it. So it wasn't even just conservative. It was people who weren't in the woke mob, because this is all about tolerance. It's just whatever, to each their own. This is where that leads.
Like, that is how it should be. And so many people try to paint this issue as it's just, conservatives and alt-right people going after the LGBTQ community. Yep. That's not what is actually happening.
Not at all.
And that's not how it should be. This should not be a divisive issue. Everybody should be talking about this. This cannot be a left or right or gay or straight issue.
Facts. Absolutely. And I mean, you guys know this is going to be demonetized, but I don't even care because it is that important to talk about. I mean, if you want to send the super things, I ain't going to stop you. But this is for the children. If this protects one of your guys' children, I don't need a goddamn cent for this.
And so many people make it that. And I think it's easy to do so because the majority of people talking about this are on the right. It is conservatives, which is fine. I'm glad we're a part of that. So it's easy for the left to say, you're escalating it, you're pointing it out, you're projecting, this is all you, and you're making the LGBTQ community seem awful. It's like, no, we just happen to be the people talking about it most of the time. And you are the people protecting many of the perpetrators.
Exactly. It's not us that's making the LGBT community look bad. It's the predators that are disguising themselves as being part of the LGBT community that are giving the LGBT community a bad name. We're just calling that out. Tim Pool uses the example of, you see somebody, you're walking down the street and you see some person, giving kids candy to a kid and trying to get him into a van, and you say, hey, stop, that's a G rumor. And then somebody else comes out the side like, well, that's a transphobic. Like, what? Maybe you think of G-rooming and the trans community, but I'm just saying, hey, protect that child from that adult. So, I mean, definitely go check out that guy Brett's channel on TikTok if you have the stomach for it. I don't want to play too much just because I want you guys to be aware of it, but it is so dark. And, I don't have children. I can't imagine if you do have children. It's got to be horrible. It's got to be horrible. But I do think it's very, very important to talk about. So if you didn't know, now you know. And if you didn't know, I'm sorry that you now know. But thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. I really do appreciate it, especially when we are not having as much fun as we could be, talking about some more fun stuff. But thank you for partying with me anyway. I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.